This video is sponsored by Woodworkers Guild of America. What is going on YouTube? Today I want to talk to you about making some tapered planters. My name's Andy, this is Cedar River Woodworking, and welcome to the shop. That's right, today we are talking about making some tapered planters. These planters will give a little bit of variance to the other planters that we have on the channel so far. They have that V shape to them, so it gives it a little bit of shape, and they just look classy. You know, you can do like this one over here where you've got the frame painted and then you have cedar underneath of it, or you have all natural cedar like this one over here. There are a few different variants that I have seen. So we have one that's tapered at 7 degrees here and one that's tapered at 5 degrees here. This 5-degree planter is the one that we will be talking about today. If you're planning on selling these, make sure that you are staging them similar to like what we have here. One of those things that I've really found out when staging things or just having some natural floral design is you want a couple different aspects to it. You want one piece that's just tall. So this is just some grass that we have here that's sticking out really high. It's going to give you some body, some presence with these planters. Then you want something centralized about in the middle, and these just give a pop of color that draw your eye to it and just completes the design. And then finally, you're going to want something that kind of droops over the side or is just kind of low and wide. So like here, I just have some ornamental grass and some leaves that just fill everything out. So if you plan on selling these, make sure that you have this presence and this presentation when you are selling your planters. Before we get to this build, I want to thank all of my members that are part of this channel. We are going to have a giveaway here pretty soon. There's going to be a dining room table given away. So if you want to learn more about that, consider being a member of the channel. If not, that's quite all right. If you like these videos or the builds that we've done so far, please consider subscribing. Anyways, let's jump over to the build. So here we are over at our miter saw. That does seem to be where a lot of our picket planters come from. So we are going to go ahead and use the miter saw. We are going to use 3 fence pickets. So all this is going to take is 3 fence pickets. I am actually going to cut our first pieces. We're going to cut 8 of these at 12 inches. So I have a stop block already set up here, and we're going to cut those out. Now, whenever you're using a stop block, remember that you want to support the side that is between the blade and the stop block, or make sure that your blade has come to a complete stop before you lift the blade up. If the blade is still spinning and you don't have it supported, that blade could catch that piece and then throw it at you, break your saw. You can have a really bad day. So make sure you're doing that. So now that we have those 8 12-inch long pieces cut, we're going to go ahead and jump over to our table saw. Here we are over at the table saw. We have what's left of the one picket because this didn't come out to quite 12 inches. Then we have the rest of our other offcut and a full picket. Now we're going to go ahead and set our fence up to 2 inches. Mine is actually already set up to 2 inches from our last planter project. So we are going to get these cut up. While you are cutting these, make sure that you are using a push stick or a push block. This is a pretty small area. You don't want to get your fingers caught into this blade. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Woodworkers Guild of America. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the video description below will get a full 1-year premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. Woodworkers Guild of America is your online resource for woodworking instructions, ideas, and information. They have over 1,000 videos and tutorials on their website. Currently, I have been checking out some sharpening videos and other hand tool ideas to help increase the skills that I have. So please check out the link in the description below, and the first 1,000 people to click on it will get a full 1-year premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. I would like to thank Woodworkers Guild of America again for sponsoring this video. All right, thank you, Future Andy, for taking over that. I will take it back from here. Now that we have our pieces cut out, we are going to go ahead and go back over to the miter saw. So back here at the miter saw, we have all of our 2-inch wide pieces laid out. All of the offcuts that we have from the 2-inch pieces, we're going to keep those. They're eventually going to be the framework around the top. But we need to cut these up first so that we can get the face frame, essentially what I would call a face frame, built up. And what we're going to do to start that off is move our saw to 5 degrees. Now this isn't a very big angle, but it's still going to give you a little bit of taper to it and just give you a little bit of a classier design. I have made these with 7-degree angles, 5-degree angles, 10-degree angles. You can customize this however you would like throughout this process. I will have build plans in the description below. If you don't see them yet, it may be a couple weeks after this video is uploaded before they are finally out on my Etsy store. But we're gonna go ahead and cut our first one here to 5 degrees. So with this first one cut, we are going to measure 16 inches from the point of that cut. And then we are going to make another cut at that 16. Now this is going to be a parallelogram. So if you've seen any of my other videos, a parallelogram is where the angles are at the same angle, or so they are parallel to each other. So I'm going to set this up, and I'm actually going to set up a stop block for this because I need to make 8 of these cuts. So it might be a little hard to see on camera here, but this is what I mean by a parallelogram. These angles face the same direction. So these 2 small pieces that are cut off from the end of that board are going to be too short for any of the rest of this project, so we are just going to set those off to the side. So during this build, you will see that there are a couple different measurements that we have here. We were actually going to have 2 short sides and 2 longer sides. The reason why we need this is to accommodate for the thickness of these fence pickets, which are 5/8 inch thick. Essentially, the short sides are going to be about 1.25 inches less than the long sides. So we're going to need 2 upper stretchers and 2 lower stretchers for each side. So we are going to cut out our short sides first. So with the 2 pieces that we have that came off of the original piece that we couldn't quite cut the 12-inch piece out of, that's what we're going to cut this piece out of, and that is going to be 10 3/8 of an inch. So again, we're going to cut our angle, measure 10 3/8, and then cut the other angle. So instead of setting a stop block, because I'm only going to cut 2 of these pieces, I'm going to take my original piece and lay it on top of the other one, and then just trace it out at the end here. So instead of boring you guys on just watching me cut these and give you measurements, I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and then I'll meet you over at the bench and I'll give you all of the measurements for each of the sides. So here we have all of our pieces laid out. We have our short pieces and our long pieces grouped together. So this is going to be a short wall and a long wall. And first we're going to start off with the long legs here. These are 16 inches. These are going to be parallelograms. That means that their angle is going to match each other. So they're going to face the same direction on each end. Coming in to our long wall here, we have an 11 5/8. Now this is going to be a trapezoid. So these face in towards each other, and all of these are going to be cut at 2 inches wide. So 2 inches wide by 16 inches long, 2 inches by 11 5/8, 9 3/4. Those are going to be the group for our long walls. And then for our short walls, we have 10 3/8 and 8 1/2. Then finally, we have 8 of these pieces here that are 12 inches long and 5.5 inches wide. We didn't cut these down at all, so this is the width of a fence picket. I don't think that I talked about that yet, but a fence picket is typically 6 foot long. They are 5.5 inches wide and 5/8 of an inch thick. So we are going to drill some pocket holes into these. I do have my drill bit set to the 1/2 inch setting, and I have the height of this set to 5/8. Now, if you have a newer model, they kind of adjust automatically by themselves. But if you have an older model, then this, you'll have to adjust the height of that yourself. So I have that set to 5/8 of an inch thick. Now I can nest these inside of here as long as I make sure that this final edge here, or the end of it, is flat on the base. Now it's gonna cause it to angle a little bit, but that's completely okay. I use the two closer holes to each other when I'm doing these. So I'm just gonna line that up and clamp it in place. And then I'm going to make sure that I have the side that I don't want showing facing towards me. So I'm going to be drilling the holes into that side. So this I want to be the show face. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to drill 2 holes into each one of these end pieces. I'm sorry, into each one of these stretcher pieces. So here is what our piece is going to look like. It's just a couple little holes on the end of here. And we're going to do one on each end of these stretchers. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, I want you to comment down below. If you have any questions or anything like that, start your comment off with "clean your miter saw station." I need that reminder. It is a mess over there. I need to clean that sucker up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all these pocket holes in here, and we'll be right back. So now that we have all of the pocket holes cut into these, it's about 32 holes that you're going to have to drill for these, but we are going to go ahead and get these made. So I'm going to start with a short wall here. Remember, that is a 10 3/8 piece and an 8.5 inch piece. So we're going to have those, and then we're going to have 2 16-inch long pieces. And then I'm going to make sure that the points of these that are on the bottom face in towards each other. So you're going to have them splay out like this. And then the trapezoid section is also going to splay out like that. So our 10.5 inch piece, 10 3/8 inch piece, and our 8.5 inch piece are going to be like this. The bottom of this bottom piece should be about 2.5 inches from the bottom of this foot. Now, how I'm going to secure these together is I'm actually going to clamp it here to the table, and then we're going to run a couple screws into it. The screws that we're using are 1.25 inch pocket hole screws. Now, 1.25 pocket hole screws are meant for 3/4 inch stock. So you really want to be careful when you're driving these in that you don't overdrive them. Otherwise, they're going to be sticking out of the face of this face frame here. Also, I took the clamps back apart because I want to ensure that we have some good glue contact here. So we are going to glue these together. I'm using Titebond 3 original wood glue. This is outdoor rated. I know that the screws that I have are not the outdoor rated type. They are zinc coated so that they will handle a little bit of the atmosphere and the wet and moisture that it's going to be inside of. But I really want to make sure that my glue is the waterproof glue. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on here first. And not a ton, because I don't want a whole lot of squeeze out on this joint. So we're going to go back and clamp this back down and get it secured. So you can see here that I didn't blow out of the face. That is exactly how you want it. Now let's go ahead and get these other 3 joints taken care of. Now, if you have made it this far into the video, I'm going to assume that you're liking it so far. So if you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. Make sure that you hit the like button if you're enjoying it. And if you really want to help out, please consider sharing the video with a loved one or somebody that you may want to make this for, or have them make it for you. So we're gonna do the rest of this process just the same as we did the long ones there. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the end of this and get it secured into place. All right, that is one frame done. This is going to be a short wall. We have one more short wall to make, and then we have two of the long walls to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and bust those out here. Now that we have the 4 walls made up, we have 2 shorts and 2 long walls. You can see the size difference here on this one. But now that we have those set up, we're gonna put our panels on so that we have the recessed panels here. And that's where our 12-inch pieces are gonna come from. So I'm going to set them in here and just take my pretty side and face it outwards. But I'm going to take a 1/4 inch Allen wrench. A 6 or an 8 millimeter Allen wrench will work really well for this also. This kind of gives you a reveal between them, gives it a little more look to it. But I'm gonna sandwich that in there and then center these boards on this wall. Now I'm gonna have a little bit of a gap on each one of the top corners on these long boards here, but that's gonna be okay. It's just gonna continue to give that raised panel look. So once I have that kind of roughly centered up here, we are going to take our brad nailer. This has 1-inch brad nails in it. If you don't have any of the tools, or you're missing some of the tools that I'm using so far, I will have links for everything down in the description below. So we're gonna take our 1-inch brad nails and we're gonna put 2 or 3 per each one of these boards on the top and the bottom and get all those secured, and we're gonna do that across all 4 walls here. So this is what your panel will look like. It's a nice recessed pattern on it, and we're gonna do that with all 4 walls. So now that we have our long and our short walls all assembled, now we need to attach them to each other. So these short walls are going to go on the inside of the long wall. So on this one, I'm going to make sure that I have some wood glue on this edge here. I'm gonna run all the way down. And then we are going to join them together. Now, when you're doing this, make sure you don't have your hand right where your brad nailer is going to be. I have seen these things kick out before, and it would not be nice to catch one of those in the hand. So I'm going to tack the top, and then I'm going to tack the bottom, and then we can go all the way across. Now these brad nails are not necessarily for strength. They are going to hold the joint together until the wood completely cures. Until the wood glue completely cures. And that is ultimately what is going to be the strength of these joints. I'm actually gonna put both short sides on this piece here, just so I don't make the mistake of having them overlapped incorrectly. So I'm going to do that same process to this one here. And now that we have this U shape established, we can just set the other long wall on top of here, and that will give us the correct measurements. Now here we are is our basic carcass. One thing that I want to do is put some trim around the top here, and the reason why we have long and short is so that we have the same measurement all the way across. So I have 15.5 inches in both directions here. So I can cut some 15.5 inch trim work. Now, because this is canted out, because we essentially have a bevel here, we need to cut these with a bevel as well. I'm gonna jump over to the miter saw and I will show you a quick tip on how I remember how to do these. So here we are at the miter saw for the last time for this video. And what we need to do is cut this trim work. So it was 15.5 inches, but we need to make 45-degree angles on the ends of this, but also a bevel cut. So we're going to do a miter and a bevel combination together. So we are going to set our saw to 45-degree angle miter, and then we need a 5-degree bevel cut. Now, how I think of that is on this outside edge, I need to have it cut underneath of it. So that's why I need to set the saw to tilt to the right by 5 degrees. So I'm going to loosen this up here and just barely tilt it to 5 degrees. Lock it down so it doesn't move on you. And then we're going to go ahead and cut these to 15.5 inches. So we're going to establish the first cut here on the end of this. So once we have the initial end cut off of this, we're going to measure out 16.5 inches. Yes, that's an inch more than what our actual measurement is, but it's easier for me to keep it in my mind in this way. But we're going to go ahead and cut 4 of those pieces, and then we will flip these over and make the correction on the other end. So once we have these pieces cut out, we have an angle that comes in this direction on the end here, and then also this direction. So we need another one that's this way and then this way. So we essentially have 2 trapezoids on this piece. So we're going to measure 15.5 from here to here, and then we're going to change the bevel on our saw so that it goes the other direction. And we're going to also change the miter so it goes at the other 45-degree angle. Once we have all of these cut out, then we're going to go ahead and secure them to the top of our planter. So here we are with our finished planter. If you couldn't tell, I struggle a little bit with the compound miters. So if that is something that you guys have a better recommendation for me, please leave that down in the comments section below. If you have the recommendation for it, start off with a 7-degree or 5-degree of which one that you like better out of these 2 planters. I know that that's apples to oranges because this one's all finished, has plants in it, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would love to hear your guys' feedback and recommendations on what I can do to make these compound miters a little bit easier for me. Now, the rest of the 1¼ inch cutoff that we had from those long pieces, I did put across the bottom inside of here to give some structure to it. Now, I did just cut down a 5-gallon bucket that is sitting inside of here. So that is one way that you can transport your plants from one planter to another if you wanted to, bring them inside, things like that. But this has been a fun project. I also have one that I'm working on that is a 10-degree angle. So you can see this is a lot steeper than this one is here. So you can have all kinds of customization that you want with these things. You can see this one here, I cut the legs a bit shorter so that it sits all the way down to the ground. This one you have a little bit of gap. So let me know which one's your favorite, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. For now, my name has been Andy. This has been Cedar River Woodworking, and we'll see you in the next video.